everyone. Welcome to Mom Talks. Happy Friday, everyone. If you're in the St. Louis area, I hope you survived the snow. Wow, we had 9 inches at my house, but if you're watching us from elsewhere, I hope you're watching from somewhere warm. May I come visit you? So we are here at the Safety Stop location at the Children's Specialty Care Center. If you don't know where we are off of 64. We're Town and Country, right?
Yeah, Town and Country, right off of Mason and 40.
Okay, yes. So this is actually one of 4 Safety Stop locations, and I'm here with Brittany Kaiser. She is the technician and instructor here. So, okay, remind us, where are the 4 locations for Safety Stop?
Yeah, so we have 4 different ones. We're out here at the Specialty Care Center, obviously. We're down at Big Children's, so right off of Kings Highway.
Where we were last week, everyone.
Yes. I was going to say, usually where
you
guys are at.
That's usually where you'll see us. Today we're trying something different.
Yes, we're at Progress West Hospital out in O'Fallon, Missouri, and then we're also at the Magic House in Kirkwood.
Very good. Okay, and so today we are going to be talking about car seat safety. If you have a kiddo, if you have a baby or a toddler, you know what I'm talking about. There is lots going on with car seats these days. As you may know, Illinois actually just passed a law. There's actually a law on the books now that say that toddlers have to be rear-facing until age 2. A lot of states have these kinds of laws on the books, and if they don't, a lot of them have recommendations, like here in Missouri. And it's similar here in Missouri.
Yes, Missouri's law isn't awesome. So a lot of laws are really good at keeping people safe and doing a really good job, and Missouri's isn't one of those that I would recommend following. I would follow the American Academy of Pediatrics. Their guideline states it very clear. It's the same across all 50 states. Kids should be rear-facing as long as possible. It's safer for them to stay rear-facing than forward-facing, because when they're rear-facing in an accident, what happens is they're cradled, so they move up, and then they come back down. So their spinal cords and their brain are much more protected. For a forward-facing crashing kiddo, we see their heads go forward and their legs come up. So a lot more injuries, a lot more serious injuries if they do see injuries at all.
Absolutely. So like I said, there's lots going on with car seats right now. Obviously, parents, we all know to buckle our seatbelts, and so if we're riding safe, we want to make sure our kiddos are riding safe. There's lots of information out there. There's lots of different seats out there. There's lots of different age limits, and there's times to turn them around, and there's times to put them in boosters, and there's times that you name it, you've probably gone through it. Yeah. I just moved my daughter from her first seat into her convertible seat, so we'll get to that. But so we're here to break it all down for you. So let's start with the brand new baby, the newborn, and what kind of a seat will they be riding in, and just let's talk about what kinds of features we have to keep a little one safe.
Yeah, so typically newborns will start out in an infant carrier. They can start directly in the convertible seat, but it's much more convenient for parents, and parents tend to like this one better, so this is the one you see most often at the time.
May I sing a love song about my car seat base?
Yes, I would say you're probably missing it right about now.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. So we want them to sit in here, and whenever babies are in here, it's really important that their butts are getting put all the way back into their seat, so they're not slouching down, or their chins can go under their chest, causing non-breathing positions. We want their butts to be all the way back. They should be nice and snug, and their shoulder strap should look like a backpack strap, so it should always be at or below their shoulders, never ever coming above their shoulder. And then this little chest clip should always be right between their armpits. We call it the tickle line, so when you run one finger from one armpit right across the plastic, you should hit the other armpit.
I'm going to ask our camera girl to come forward so you can take so parents at home can take a closer look at what we're talking about here. Just a reminder, we are taking questions, so if you're watching this and you have any questions about making sure it's tight enough, or making sure that it's that the tickle line is correct, just go ahead, write them in. We'll get to them throughout the episode. So
I would say tightness is one of the biggest ones, because what we want is, we see a lot of newborns way too loose. We get it. You have this little infant in here. You don't want them. Yes, we totally understand that. It's tightening down on their hard part, so it's on their bones. It's not like we're tightening down on their stomachs or anything like that. So we need it to be snug, because if this is installed perfectly in your car, awesome, that's not going to move, but I need to make sure that if you're in an accident, baby doesn't fly out. So nice and snug. I should never be able to pinch any slack. If you guys are worried that it's too tight, you can always just take your finger and put it under their collarbone. As long as you can fit one finger here, it's not too tight on it.
Okay, and so just a reminder, since we've got the camera nice and close, about this tickle line right here, this chest clip. I remember seeing a story on Facebook a while ago about a mom who told her husband, like, raise the chest clip, it needs to be right there, and then, like, minutes later, her husband and the baby were in an accident. Baby was fine. So
yes.
super important that it's just right across there.
Yes, we need that hitting those hard parts, not that soft belly down here.
Absolutely. So talk a little bit about the seat. So where will this go in your car? And how, I know we can't install it because we're not in a car. But you talk a little bit about going through this with parents, their first car seat.
Yes, definitely. So where you guys want the car seat in the car kind of depends family to family. So always in the back seat, but you can decide if you want it behind the passenger, behind the driver, in the middle. It's totally up to you. Now the middle is the safest seating position in a car, but that doesn't mean your baby has to go there. So most car seats, this being one of them, has been side impact protected. So it's okay if you have to put your kiddo on the side. You're not a bad parent. It's all right.
Okay, good, because mine is.
Yes, it's marginally safer in the middle. It's not a drastic thing where we're telling people like you have to put your baby in the middle. That's not true. It can go anywhere in the back seat. So this seat here particularly, there's two ways to install any car seat. You can install a car seat with your seatbelt, or if you can use like the fun little latches that you might see hanging on your seatbelt that looks something like this. So some kind of latch hook or something.
Right. Yeah, I know. In my car, like they have these two like metal things that kind of protrude out. And you can just kind of clip
they're
it
like
in.
little
They're
metal
awesome.
bars essentially. They sit right in the seat bite. And some cars have them, some don't. Any car newer than a 2003 has to have them. But if you install in the center, you probably have to use seatbelt because most cars don't have them in the middle. So there's two ways to always install. You can never do them together. They counteract each other. So you have to pick if you're using the latches or the seatbelt. You can't do both.
So, just really quick, I wanted to point out that when you do it through your seatbelt, that means that this thing, well, it's wonderful, doesn't, sometimes you don't want to like undo it all and like take it with you when you're traveling and things like that. Doing it with your seatbelt actually allows you, if like grandma and grandpa are taking baby or babysitter, that it can go into any car.
Yeah, so you can put, the base can stay in your car if you want. You can just move this in and out. Now you can install a carrier without the base and just with the seatbelt. So you can get rid of the base, and you can use this without, so there is always some kind of, and not all car seats, but most have the ability to use the seatbelt. So the seatbelt would route through here, it would actually lay across the baby, and then you would have to manually lock the seatbelt to tighten it.
Sort of that clicking noise when you come
click,
back.
the click. And then it has to be level. Obviously, on your bases, you usually have like some sort of little color indicator or something like that. You don't have that on this, so there's always going to be some sort of line, like here's a level line. So there will always be the same checks. It needs to be level. Can't move more than an inch at the belt pass where the seatbelt's actually going.
And so whenever like a family, like I said, they're coming in and they're new parents, first time parents, are you able to show them both, or if they want to, or like just help them get that base in?
Yeah, we'll show them whatever they want. So we always show them how to put their base in, make sure they're comfortable putting it in. We'll show them every way, seatbelt, latch, whatever it may be. Show them that, and then some parents are like, we travel a lot. We take Ubers, we take taxis. We don't want to take the base, and so we're happy to show them how to do it without the base as well.
And I think it's important to point out that you want to show parents also how to do it themselves. You're not just going to do it for them and be like, okay, bye, you know.
We will help you. We'll show you how to do it so that way you can feel confident. If you have to take it out because things do happen, your baby's going to spit up, or you're going to have to get your car cleaned, something's going to happen so that you can feel confident. And we will always check and recheck. We have a lot of parents who will learn from us, do it on their own, and then whenever they come back, they're like, hey, we just want to make sure we did it right, and we're happy to always check those.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about one thing that Children's Hospital is known for is we have a fantastic NICU, and NICU babies and babies that are born prematurely or smaller, they need a few extra things to make sure that they're nice and snug in here. So what do you recommend for parents whose babies are a little smaller, need a little extra?
So whenever your child is in the NICU, your NICU is going to run a tolerance car seat test. And so that they're going to check to make sure the baby can ride for that amount of time in your car seat, things like that. So whenever that happens, they're going to adjust it to the way it needs to be. But some things that can happen with some smaller babies, we never ever want people adding things to the car seat that didn't come with it. That's small baby, large baby, doesn't matter.
So like what would be an example of something you might want, that could be added that you would say don't do that?
Yes, so things like this are okay because this head pillow came with the car seat. Other head pillows or inserts, like if you walk the aisles of Target or Grab a Baby, you're going to see like cute little harness strap covers and all kinds of things. Didn't come with your car seat, do not use it. They can be really dangerous and actually affecting your baby's airway and how they're able to breathe while they're in there. So never add anything that didn't come with it. What they will do for smaller babies sometimes, the exception to the rule is receiving towels. You can put a receiving towel alongside of them. This is not a small baby, but if it were a small baby, you could put a receiving towel alongside the baby just like this. You can never put it behind them, but sometimes in the NICU when they discharge them, they'll do that to fill some of the space, and that's perfectly okay. What is not okay is going around the head. That's very bad. We never want it to come around because that can slip behind their head and push their necks forward.
And you know, if you were, heaven forbid, to be in a crash and you've got something like that behind, it's just more.
It's just going to push more.
Forcing forward. Wow.
Exactly.
Okay. So, I guess like the next question is, and once again, just a reminder that we are taking questions. It looks like we have one right now.
So, can you explain the importance of the expiration dates on the?
Oh yeah,
yes,
great.
That's a really good question.
Probably when you get a lot, because I know I asked it whenever
Yes.
we're preparing for a new baby, and I was like, can I recycle my baby seat for our 2nd?
It's a hot topic. A lot of parents come in and ask. They're like, "What is this deal with expiration? Is it real? Is it a scam from car seat companies?" It is not. It is not a scam. It's very, very important. So every car seat has a date on it, and it will be somewhere. So ours is just right up on here. So it will always tell you when it was made.
So I'll invite our camera to come forward real quick so you can just take a look at this.
They will always tell you when it was manufactured. Some car seats, like this one, will include when it expires on it. Some don't. That's okay. If it doesn't include when it's expired, count 6 years back from when it was made.
6 years.
6 years. And the reason that those car seats expire, there's a couple of different reasons. Just for starters, the plastic becomes brittle because you're using it in extreme hot, extreme cold. It's in your car, it's in your garage, wherever it may be. So after 6 years, it just starts to break down. It doesn't uphold like it should anymore. The foams on the inside can start to break. Pieces on the inside too can start to wear down and get rusty and things like that. They just don't react the way they should in a crash anymore. Another one is from a safety standpoint. Safety standards are always being upped. They're getting better and better every year. So when we look at car seats, like if you bring me a car seat that was built in 2006, it's going to look vastly different from one that was built in 2019. So the safety standards are constantly changing, and the car seat themselves, the harness is frayed, the plastic starts to become brittle, and in an accident, it just doesn't protect your child anymore.
So those are things also to kind of watch out for as a parent, you know. Oh, well, looks like we have another question.
So, is it true that the anchors are only up to certain weights?
Yes, that is true. That's very true. So you will never run into that with your infant car seat. So anchors in a car can only hold up so much weight. So in an accident, they typically 40 pounds is the general, but every car seat is different. So your vehicle manufacturer and your car seat will both tell you how much weight your anchors can support. Infant seats don't go up past 40 pounds. So you can always use anchors with infant seats. But when you get into that next convertible stage, that's when you have to start paying attention. And on the side of your car seat and in your car seat manual, it will always tell you this is the weight max for anchors. Some car seats say 40 pounds, some say 45 pounds. And then you have to start using the seat belt to install because it doesn't hold anymore after that weight. That's a very good question.
And I just want to point out that when I came to my safety staff appointment a couple of weeks ago, they advised me to just keep that manual in your glove, your glove box if you remember to do that along with your car manual. It's just, I mean, I know, like how often do you need it? But when you do need it,
you need it.
You need it. So great. So let's talk about how long can a baby stay in a car seat that is specifically the infant car seat with the carrier and everything like that. How long can they be in this?
So babies can be in their car seats until they max out the height and the weight of it. So every car seat's different. This one here is 32 inches or 35 pounds, I believe. Yes. 35 pounds and 30 inches. That's
35
why you always want
pounds.
to check.
Okay, yeah.
There's always going to be a warning sticker on the side, and it's always going to tell a height and weight. So you can always look at that. That's what you need to reference because every car seat is different.
Can you point where it is right
so
here?
on this one, it says that this should be used for a child up to 35 pounds or 30 inches. So that's whichever one they hit first.
So, like, for instance, my daughter is 18 months and she's 24 pounds.
Yes.
So you have to figure that out for your own child. My child could still be in her infant car seat, and she does some from time to time. But again, it really just depends on your child.
Totally. And I would definitely focus on height because a lot of people forget about height because the doctor's appointments are focusing on weight, obviously.
Sure.
But height, a lot of kids will outgrow the height of their car seat before their weight. So focus on their height and their weight, whichever one they hit first, that's when you have to move. Now, a lot of parents will ask me, can they move before that because they're tired of carrying this around and they're heavy? You definitely can. So the convertible car seats typically start at 5 pounds. So you can move your baby whenever you're ready as long as they fit in the height and weight requirement. So if that's at, 9 months and you're tired of it, if that's at 6, a year, whatever it may be, you can move to that convertible stage because they're still going to be rear facing.
But okay, so let's say I have a child that has reached the weight and height requirement. So let's talk about what comes next after the carrier. So we talk about a convertible seat. Now, a convertible seat, that's an easy name, but it probably means a lot of different things.
Yes.
I mean, I have one, for instance, that goes until it turns around, and then, she sits in it front-facing. I mean, she will never have another car seat in her life. So some are like that, some are not.
Yes, correct. So the next stage is the convertible stage. So typically a convertible goes rear-facing and forward-facing with a 5-point harness. There are some out there that are like 3-in-1s, or Graco Forever is a very popular one. Those turn all the way into the booster seats. Those are just kind of like an all-in-one car seat is what we call those. But the typical convertible car seat just goes rear and forward facing.
Okay, so let's talk about, and one thing I kind of forgot to mention with an infant car seat is what should parents be looking for to know this is a safe seat, this is a good price, this is a good quality versus, this is not,
what it should be.
What it should be. So what should we be watching
So
for?
we never tell parents to focus on brand because everybody has to undergo the same kind of crash testing, all those kinds of things. So we're not worried about that. What we're worried about is making sure it's new. That's a really big one. You can't go get them secondhand from a store or something like that. If you're getting it from your sister and she's like, hey, it's never been in an accident, it's not expired, check all those things, that's a different story. But if you don't know the history of it, if they've been in a car accident, they're most likely not able to be used. There's a couple questions that go along with that. But if it's been an accident, you can't use it. If it's expired, you can't use it. So you really want to know the history of your seat. So buying it new, it's going to be okay. It's really what you like best because there's a ton of options out there.
Yeah, I've seen it like mommy groups online being like, hey, I've got my car seat, my kid's outgrown it, never been in a crash. So, as long as you know the history, that's okay.
Yes, as long as you trust that person.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth.
Right. Now since you did mention accident, let's talk about it real quick. So if my child has been in a car accident in our car and in their car seat, what should I do?
So there's like a 5-point test that comes from National Highway and Traffic Safety Administration. And what it is your car cannot have a dent on the side where your car seat was. Your airbags can't be deployed. No one can be treated by a medic. You have to be able to drive your car away from the scene, and there can't be visible damage on the car seat. So if it meets those, then you can most likely use it, but then you have to go one step further and check with your manufacturer, because some manufacturers say yes, follow the 5-step test, that's enough, and some want to ask additional questions.
I'm sure that would be something, if somebody comes to you, you'd be happy to,
to help them
happy
with
to
as well. Talk them through their brand, all that kind of stuff. Especially also is your insurance will cover a new car seat. Not a lot of people know that, so make sure you turn that in so that you can get your new car seat.
Because I'm sure a lot of moms are watching and are saying, I don't care if I just got dinked on my rear, like, I'm getting a new car seat.
Yes, your insurance is supposed to cover for a new car seat, so definitely talk to them about that.
Just a reminder, we are taking questions, so keep them coming if you have some thoughts about this, especially as we're moving into, we're going to talk about convertible seat, we've got booster seats coming up, so just feel free, leave them, we will get to them throughout the episode. All I know is this is lots of good information here, lots of things I hadn't thought about. So let's talk about this seat and what makes it a little different and what makes it similar to an infant car seat.
So it's still going to be at that same 45-degree angle. They're still level, they're still sitting back. So that's why that you can move your baby whenever you're ready because it's still rear facing. Now there's always a height and weight requirement. So some rear facing seats go to 50 pounds, some go to 40 pounds. When they max that out, then this same seat flips forward facing. So everyone looks a little bit different. On this one, what happens is the foot prop actually switches, and then it goes from a rear-facing seat to a forward-facing seat. So just like that.
Cool. So let's talk about, because this is the one that's been in the news. This is what has people talking. Is when do you recommend that a baby or I suppose a toddler at this point or a child go from rear facing to forward facing?
So American Academy of Pediatrics says as long as possible, and a lot of people get caught up on the infant stage. They're like, well, yeah, we did it until they maxed out, so I can go forward facing.
Right.
Not true. They're talking about long as possible on the convertibles. So every convertible is different. That could be 40, it could be 50. There's always going to be a height and weight sticker on the side of your car seat. That's what you need to look at. But it's typically going to be between the ages 2 to 5. And a lot of people freak out. They're like, I would never put my 4-year-old rear facing. Well, they're a lot safer that way, and their little feet is what freaks people out.
Yeah, they're banging up against the back and stuff like that.
It looks totally weird. I get it. They're bending, they're folding. That's okay. Their joints aren't fully formed yet, and it doesn't affect or stunt their joint growth. It does nothing. They're never going to tell you one day, like, Mom, my leg's crammed. Their joints aren't as bad as mine. So they're fine whenever they're bending and folding in there, and they are actually safer with their legs crossed rear facing than they would be forward facing. I've seen Some 2.5-year-olds who come to me, they're 40 pounds, they're done. We have to flip them. I had a 4-year-old the other day who wasn't quite there yet, so she was still rear facing. So it's totally child dependent, but typically between the ages of 2 to 5 before they actually max it out and can flip forward facing.
And I know you talked about this, just about what makes it safer to be rear facing in a
Mhm.
crash, but I think this is so important. So if people aren't watching, just talk a little bit about why
definitely.
being rear facing
So much
is just
safer.
so much safer.
So when they are rear facing in an accident, what happens is they're cradled. So they're moving up kind of like a little shell, and then they're moving back down. So they're taking that force off of strictly their necks, and it's being dispersed to their whole body. So we're seeing them much safer that way. When you're in a forward-facing crash, it's just like us. Your necks are being thrown forward, and their legs are being thrown up. So they're kind of doing this little like sandwich deal here. We see spinal cord separation, brain trauma, things like that for forward-facing kids. I actually see more leg breaks because their legs are breaking into the back of the vehicle seat when they're flying forward. Rear-facing, we're hardly seeing anything, and that's because they're so much safer. And if we do, it's like a broken foot, which is a lot more manageable than brain trauma. So
Absolutely. I mean, like you think about those crash dummy, that you see on TV about an adult, falling forward, and you see the neck. So imagine that with a child, especially one whose neck, you might not be fully grown and fully developed. So
I tell parents, don't be in a hurry. They need to stay rear facing as long as possible. They're much, much safer that way.
looks like we have a question.
Yes.
On the convertible car seat, some have 3 levels of rear facing and 3 levels of forward. How do you know which reclining level position is best?
Good question.
Good question.
Good question.
So how you do that, it's all dependent on your car seat and your brand and things like that. But you're always going to have a level. So in this one, there's only one level that you do. And if there is only one level and it's still not level, like I have a line, you can do things like add a pool noodle or a towel underneath to help make it level. But whoever asked that question is lucky that they have the choice between reclines. And the point is to get it to level on your car seat. So depending on what that is, there's usually going to be a line, or most of them that have choices will have a bubble. And you decide which one that is based on if it's level. So if in position 1, the bubble's not on the level line, then you need to move it to 2. So it's all dependent on your vehicle and how it fits in there. So you just choose the recline essentially based on if it's level.
That's a great question. Lots of good questions today.
And I know that's kind of confusing and it's kind of hard to describe without seeing it. And if you make a point on Safe Stop, we're happy to show you like this in your car should be on this level and this is why, so that you can know.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I had mine a couple of weeks ago, and we walked through in my car seat, and she absolutely walked through the recline, and she's like, we need to be here because look, and she showed me the bubble and said, that's
this
how
is
you why
decide.
we're doing this way.
You decide just so you can make sure that if it's level and it's in the right number, then you're good.
One thing I wanted to talk about, because I know this always surprised me, is where the strap should be on the shoulder, because I always thought, I've seen, kind of like I have to do like this, like I'm putting a backpack on with my daughter's straps, and I was like, well, aren't those too low? And so I was like, well, maybe I'll move them up, and so they come down almost, I hate to say this, but almost like a roller coaster, where they come down, but that's not right.
Correct. So backpack strap, that's funny you should say that because that's the term that we
Right,
actually use.
it's really what I think of. I think I put it on a backpack and it kind of hangs like below.
Yes, we always want it at or below their shoulders. So essentially when your kiddo's sitting in here, that's for rear facing. I can't describe that enough. That's rear facing at or below. So if your kiddo's rear facing in here and their shoulders are like touching right here and the strap's down here, that's okay. I want it to come up and around their shoulders. So kind of visually, if this is their shoulder, it should come up and around like that. That's good. If they're forward facing, it needs to be at or above their shoulders. So if they're forward facing, I don't want the backpack strap any longer. I want their shoulders to be down here and it coming just a little bit above.
And I also noticed, like with my daughter, is coming across her lap. I always think of a seatbelt that comes like right across my lap. But it seems like it goes lower almost.
Yes. So depending on your car seat brand, some of them that go longer, like a Forever car seat or an all-in-one, they sit a little bit differently on their hips. So as they grow, it fits them better. But it should just never be like up on their stomach. Sometimes it's a little bit lower on their thighs, and that's okay. Sometimes it's a little bit higher on their hips.
Okay. See, that was one of those questions of like, this is a personal question. So let's talk about. So you get them forward facing, and they're in a forward facing. At what point can you kind of drop a seat altogether and just have a booster? So we've got a booster down here. So let's flop this out and take a look at it.
All right. So the difference here, whenever you're talking about going to that booster seat from the harness, so a lot of people get confused and think that once their kid's forward facing in a harness, that's a booster. It's not a booster. So a booster is when you're just using the seat belt with this type of seat, or a high back booster is fine too. But when your kid's using a seatbelt, that's booster mode. So to take them out of the 5-point harness, they need to be at least 4 years old. They need to be at least 40 pounds. So it's both those things. It's not one or the other. And that doesn't mean that they're necessarily ready anyway. That's kind of like the minimum. And then you can keep them longer because most 4-year-olds are not mature enough to be in a booster. And this is why. The harness keeps them restrained. You have your kiddo, they're strapped in, they can't really move. And that's what we want. We don't want them walking around the car while you're driving.
Sometimes with 4-year-olds when you're driving.
You never know. I've heard lots of stories about kids getting out. So then this, if they're in a booster seat, the seatbelt, think about your seatbelt. It's movable. They can lean over and grab little sister, or they can get a toy, or they can slouch down and slide under their seatbelt, things like that. So really, if they're not ready at 4, it's typically I see 5-year-olds more often getting out of it because most parents come in and they're like, my 4-year-old's not ready for that responsibility. Sometimes they are. So it's child dependent, but they have to be at least 4 and 40 pounds to even think about going to that stage. But whenever they do go to the booster stage, they need to be able to sit back and not slouch and be able to sit like that for the whole car ride, because if they can't and they're moving around, that seatbelt can't protect them the way it needs to in a crash. And I would actually move to a high back booster first. I would not skip straight from the harness to a no back booster. That's a big change. So just a booster that has a back on it is what I would start with.
Okay, so I think a lot of people are surprised, I know at least I was, that how long a kiddo should stay in a booster. So you have a handy
I do.
chart over here. So let's take a look at this. I think, if you're like me, I didn't grow up with things like this. So this surprised me, but look where the line is.
Yes, it's not much shorter than we are.
Yeah, we're adults, I promise.
Yes. So it's 4'9", and that's really important. And I get a lot of parents who are like, "Oh no, that can't be right."
Right.
It is. It is correct.
That's middle school. Some middle schoolers.
Oh yeah, some littler kids get really angry with me. I've had 11-year-olds in here before who are just like they're creeping, but they're not quite there yet. So this is once again like the first question. So the first thing is, are they at least 4'9"? Once they're 4'9", then you go into the other 5 questions. Because every car is different, because a kid's 4'9", sometimes their vehicle belt comes really high or something like that. So what they'll do is you need to make sure your kiddo can sit all the way back in their seat with their butt all the way back. Their knees should make a really nice bend at the vehicle seat. They shouldn't be like sticking out or anything like that. And then the seatbelt placement is so important. So we want to make sure that seatbelt stays on their shoulder. It should never be like sliding off, but it definitely shouldn't be digging into their neck. And then for their belt placement, for their lap belt, always on their hips, never on their stomach. So if they can do all those things, then yeah, they are. If they're 4'9", they meet all those, they can be out of the booster. The reason we get such a pushback is because we see mortality rates jump around kids this age in car accidents, and that's because they're not in the boosters. Because everything else is doing a good job, and then people take them out of the boosters too soon, and that's whenever we're seeing a lot more injuries and fatalities happen is around this age because they're not sitting in the booster like they should. And the booster doesn't actually protect your kid at all. All it does is it boosts them up so that the seatbelt can protect them.
So they can wear the seatbelt, correct?
Yes, because without it, it's touching their soft spots or their neck or their stomach, and I need the booster seat to hit on their bones, essentially.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So let's talk about when can a child ride in the back seat, no problem, nothing.
Yes. So after they meet all these, they can sit in the back seat. That's fine. And like I said, it's very child dependent. So in grandma's car, like if they're 4'9" and they meet all these, awesome, looks great. They can sit in it. If they're in dad's car, maybe the seatbelt comes higher and you put them back there and you notice it's sitting in their neck. Then go ahead and get out that booster and just have them sitting in dad's car. It's really, really important. That's what's going to protect them if they're ever in an accident.
Okay, we're going to walk back over this way and finish up. So I guess one question that I had, and that you said you got this a lot, is when can a kiddo sit in the front seat with you?
Yes, so that's probably one of our most popular questions right after booster. A lot of people are anxious when they can get their kiddos out of the booster, and then the next step comes, well, when can they pop up to the front seat? 13. Now, one thing you and I were talking about before we started is usually you might know where this is, like it might be on your the sun visor where it says 12 and under. So okay, I've got a 12-year-old, great, right? No.
It's 12. She shot me down there.
Yes.
No.
12 and under should be in the back seat. So not every car says that on their visor. Most of them do, because they're trying to warn you that really a 12-year-old should not be in the front seat. And bone structurally, they're not ready for that airbag. Those airbags come out at over 100 miles an hour. They're designed to protect over 100 pounds of men and women. Like, they're not designed to protect your tween. So it's really important to wait until they're 13 to be putting them in the front seat. I know parents get anxious. It's really unsafe for them to be up there. The airbag's coming out. Their bodies aren't ready for it yet, and just really important to keep them in the back until they're 13 years old.
I remember they used to say, whenever you were tall enough, like the old adage used to be when you were tall enough to like have your head against the headrest. But yeah, so 13 to like 7th graders.
Yes.
So wow. Okay, so next question is talk a little bit about safety stop, because we want to make sure everybody knows safety stop is not just for parents.
No, it's for everyone. So anybody can use safety stop. That can be grandma or grandpa, nanny, your next door neighbor, your cousin's brother, sister, whoever. Anybody who's transporting kids and wants to know how to safely do it. Anybody who wants to fit their kid for a bike helmet. Expectant parents are a big one. We get a lot of expectant parents in here. Anytime, really. Anybody can use our services.
Looks like we've got a question.
So is there a time or day that's best to make an appointment at Safety Stop?
Yeah. So we are actually open 7 days a week. So we are open at one of our locations every day. So we're not here every day, but we are somewhere in the St. Louis area every day. For this location out at Progress, we are not at Progress.
We're at the CSCC. It's okay.
We're at the CSCC.
It's Friday, people.
Yes, it's Friday. At this location at the Specialty Care Center on Mason and 40 and down at the hospital on Kings Highway, we are open Monday through Saturday. And then on Sundays, we're open at the Magic House. And then sporadically on a couple weekdays, we're open out at Progress West. But weekends, we're here on Saturdays, we're at the hospital on Saturdays, and Sundays, we're at the Magic House. So anything to fit people's schedules. We do evenings, too. So there's some nights where we're out here later, and some nights we're out here earlier so that we can fit those working parents in. So the best thing is to call and make an appointment so that you know what days we're open, what times, what locations, and they'll find something that works best for you and your schedule.
So let's remind everybody how to make an appointment.
Yes. So you're going to want to call 314-454-KIDS, and then press 3 when you're prompted. Tell them you want to set up an appointment to get your car seat checked or to buy a car seat. We also sell car seats at cost, so we can do that too. So anything that works that you'd like, and our call center will be happy to set you up.
Yeah. Sounds good. Okay, so we are going to wrap things up here at the Children's Specialty Care Center. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks for your questions. Great conversation here today. So important to talk about. So next week, we're going to be talking about babysitters, and parents, this one's for you. So if you're like me, I don't have family in the area, so it's time to call a babysitter whenever the husband and I want to have a nice dinner out. So we're going to be talking to you, moms and dads, about, okay, so you're hiring a babysitter for the first time. What should you look for? Where should you find them even? Because I think that's the largest part of the battle is where do you find a good babysitter? And by the way, if my babysitters are watching, I love you. And so we'll be talking about what questions should you be asking the person that's going to be watching your child. Is there any information that they need to know? What phone numbers should you leave? What kinds of questions should they be asking you? And how can they reach you? So we'll be going through all of that next week. We'll look forward to seeing you next Friday at 11 for another edition of Mom Talks. Have a great day.